Hi everybody, Mitch Kosterman here. Of course you already know that, otherwise you wouldn't be watching probably. A couple things I wanted to cover is I'm autistic, and someone was asking me about phone calls because I'm involved in business and I do a lot of different things, and I don't answer the phone anymore. I don't have to, so I don't. In fact, if you call my phone now, it says I won't answer you. You may as well text me because I'm not going to answer you. How that jives with being an actor and doing this, I have no idea. I can't explain it. Anyway, there you go. Autism is a mystery, even to us autistics. So, I wanted to follow up with some stuff. I got a lot of mail about stunts, and people were saying, "Oh no, so and so does his own stunts." I thought I explained it pretty good, but maybe go back and listen to that. I don't know what to tell you. But you know that old thing, people say, "Oh, I know, he sounded very sincere." Yeah, that's his job to sound sincere. Remember, there's that old saying, what was that guy's name? Burns. The old guy, can't remember. Anyway, that's because I'm old too. Anyway, he said the most important thing in show business is honesty. And if you can fake that, you've got it made. These people are good actors because they can convince you that they are really feeling, because they are really feeling what they are in the moment as the character in the show. So they're amazing liars. You have no idea when they're being honest or not. If they're honest people and you know them to be honest, great. If you don't, you can't trust anything an actor says. That includes me. Okay, so I want to tell you some more about stunts, though, because it is kind of something people don't understand, that film sets are very unsafe. And there's this weird thing going on with workers' compensation boards and insurance companies, is they always let movies break the rules because they're doing things that are, supernatural. But it is unsafe in a lot of times, and you have to be very, very careful. The thing about it is that a lot of times it isn't, it's not routine. When you go to work on a job site, they've got rules and regulations, and they got those rules and regulations because people got hurt, right? Well, in the movies, you might be doing something for the very first time and you may never do it again. So I wanted to mention the very first job I had was that stunt where I kicked Glenn Fry in the head. Because martial arts is kind of the thing that got me into it. Stunts, I could do the odd little thing, fall down, whatever. But because I did that, I sort of got labeled as a stunt actor for a couple of years. And there were stunt coordinators calling me to do stuff. Truth of the matter is, I wasn't very good at that stuff. I mean, I liked doing it. I was a young man. Who the heck wouldn't want to race a car around through a city street? That was great. But I really didn't have any training or experience at that kind of stuff. So it was great. It was an adventure, but sometimes it wasn't so great. And I remember this one stunt coordinator. Do you remember Richard Grieco? He was supposed to be the new Johnny Depp on 21 Jump Street. Maybe you're not that old. I don't know. Anyway, he's a super good-looking guy who disappeared right after the show. I was supposed to bring the police car up right behind him. And depending on angles, you can make it look like you're really close to him when you're not. So I don't know why I was listening to the stunt coordinator, because he was sort of my boss, but I shouldn't have, because it was dangerous. He wanted me to get closer. I hit the brakes and slid on the gravel, and he wanted me to get closer to Richard Grieco. He says closer and closer and closer until I actually touched his calf with the bumper of the front of the car. And I'll never forget, he's facing forward and he just turns and looks back at me like this. So I think he knows just how close he came to getting him seriously hurt. Now, people do get seriously hurt. One of the freakiest things was, for me, I got small hurts. I was asked to jump out a window, and there were two of us actors. And the one beside me, they've got all these boxes laid out, and he's going to fall on them. I thought, geez, that's not enough boxes. I said, you need a few more boxes. So they laid out a little more. And this guy was going out the window ledge. It's on the roof of the Vancouver Hotel. It was 16 feet from the solid steel roof of the hotel. He landed in the boxes, and I said, "Hey, what are we going to do here?" He said, "We're going one at a time, because that's not quite wide enough to cover both of us." He said, "Oh, no. that's for him. It's not for you. We want to catch you just landing on the steel. What? So I thought I shouldn't do it, but this wasn't enough time to say, no, it's going to hurt. I got bad knees anyway. I jumped 16 feet, landed on the steel roof, and holy crap, did that hurt. And I was supposed to stand up and pull my gun, which I just managed to do. And then they said, cut. And I said, I can't do that again. I can't do that again. And the stunt coordinator raced up. He said, it's okay. It's okay. It worked. It was good. Jesus Christ. I mean, excuse me. Excuse my French. But there were some really tragic things. And I remember a guy who used to double me all the time on Smallville. He was supposed to go through this glass window. And what they do is people say, oh, it's fake glass. No, it's not. It's real glass. Okay? It's very dangerous. And what they do when a guy goes through a glass window, and the reason it's real glass is nothing else is clear like glass. There's glass. And so what they do is they have electric charge all around it. And just as the guy gets to the glass, they go pop, blows all the glass out. So it turns into little pieces, and the guy doesn't get hurt. Maybe gets a scratch or two. He's got to keep his eyes closed, that's for sure. Yeah, it's that dangerous. You're going to get cut, right? Well, unfortunately, the guy who was pushing the button to blow the window got it a little bit late. And we're talking about a fraction of a second here, okay? That's what I mean about it being dangerous. And the guy went through the window, the stuntman went through the window, and there were big shards of glass like this, and one of them cut him, just about caught his femoral artery, but cut the inside of his leg about this long, and a lot of blood came out. And there's a very weird feeling as an actor standing there, and there's a guy doing something because it was too dangerous for you, and now he's quite seriously hurt. That was a very strange day for me. But there are more tragic things. People actually died. One of the craziest things was some special effects guys blew up a car. And the whole crew was all standing back, quite far away, totally safe. But whoever set up the explosion didn't take the battery out of the car. It was empty, pretty much everything. But for whatever reason, the stupid battery was sitting on the side of the engine compartment. It went straight up in the air. And when it came down in the crowd, right on one guy's head and killed him dead instantly. You can imagine that moment. It was a bad thing. You probably heard about Maze Runner. The guy was supposed to jump from one truck to another. The drivers in the vehicles weren't synchronized. The one guy stopped, but he's supposed to go to that truck, so the guy jumped, and he ended up on the ground, moving at like 20 or 30 kilometers per hour. Nice. I think he broke his collarbone or his arm or something like that. Anyway, slowed down production. Billy Zane, I was working with him on a movie, and he was just running up some rocks up a creek, and he fell, broke his collarbone. Ow! He came back. We were off. The insurance company pays for that. It's called force majeure. We were off for like 4 weeks before he could come back and play. Another horrible thing is my dear friend Tony Morelli, who is former kickboxing champion of the world. A very, very nice guy. Always super gentle and friendly. He was always really good to me. I used to go when I was a young man and I'd watch him fight. Just an incredible athlete. But he worked on First Blood up here in 1982. So he was one of the earliest Canadian stuntmen. And everybody loved him. He didn't have an enemy that I know of. And he was just a really great guy, but I'll shorten the story a little bit. Anyway, when you crash a car into something, people think, oh, it's okay, he's got all the safety equipment. No, it always hurts. Every time you do it. Sometimes guys break ribs, but they're definitely bruised and sore from crashing a car into something at anything above like 40 kilometers per hour. Well, Tony, don't quote me on this, but I think him and another guy were in a car with regular seatbelts on because you couldn't shoot the full harness, and they drove a car into a tree somewhere between 50 and 60 kilometers per hour, and it hurt. And Will knew that it hurt, but we weren't sure how bad. And the next day, Tony said he didn't feel well. He went home. He slept through the night. In the morning, he got up with his family. They were going somewhere, I don't know, and he collapsed in the driveway, and he was dead. He had been bleeding internally since he crashed into the tree. That's a horrible tragedy. Anyway, I'm moving on from that. Oh, there's that girl on Deadpool. She was really excited. She's a really experienced motorcycle rider, racer. But she was so excited to be on the show, I guess. I don't know, whatever. I mean, it was a great movie, right? She hit the gas and went over a curb that she wasn't supposed to go over. And And she didn't have a helmet on, and she struck her head right on a steel post that was separating a couple of windows. She died instantly. That was just a couple of years back. That's terrible. I wanted to congratulate Jared and my brother's working with him down there in Austin, Texas. They're having a very successful show. It's already been renewed for season 2. It's unusual for a show to go 2 seasons and not go 3, because that's when they get into syndication and they make all their money by sharing the show around the world off of their station, right? But anyway, the other thing they're doing down there is they're building a movie industry. This is the first time they've had a successful series like this before. So they're going to build an industry and employ people in Austin, and of course that makes them feel very good. I got in trouble for saying nice things about Jared a little while ago because I don't know, they like to be private. But he's a wonderful man. Okay, and you take that from me. You can't believe anything he says because he's an actor, of course. But you see, this is me telling you about him. It's different. And Cliff's having a great time working down there. They actually had snow. It's really weird. But anyway, if you want to read about stories, some of the things I talk here, and some more about business in Vancouver, because I work as a business consultant to the film industry now. I don't know how the heck I fell into that. People just hired me to do things. If you watch that, if you go to my blog, it's yvrproductionpulse.com. Got a bunch of articles there. I'm also posting these videos and other stuff to do with Cliff, talking about him being a bodyguard. I'll get more into that later. I want to cover his career, how he got trained as a bodyguard, and how he worked his way up, and he worked for people like Kurt Russell, Sharon Stone, Morgan Freeman, Justin Timberlake, tons of people like that. We have pictures. I'll show you sometime. Maybe I'll put a few up. Yeah, right. If you are in the movie business and you'd like to write an article, even if you're not, but if it's somehow related to the movie business and you want to write an article, send it to me, and if it's appropriate, I'll put it on the blog, and I'll give you a byline. Okay? I'm not making money on the blog anyway, so, I can't pay you, obviously, but it means that people who just want to try the writing or whatever, you can write an article and send it to me, and I'll tell you whether it fits in or not. Okay? I keep saying I'm doing it. It's terrible. Just terrible. I got the videos up on YouTube. Everything I ever made, I think, pretty much. They're also on Facebook. The podcasts that I'm doing and the vlogs are going on Facebook. They're also going to be podcasts from YouTube, but just as audio files, and listed in Apple and all those other podcast directory type places. Okay. I wanted to talk to you guys about, here's something fun. Before I get into that, in the old radio days, there was a guy named Jack Foley. Now, I don't know if you ever heard it before, but if you look in the credits of a movie, you'll see something go by in the sound department and it'll say Foley artist or Foley artists, or maybe like 20 of them. Those are the guys who make the sound of the door closing. They record actual sounds that get modified later in sound editing, but they record them. And back in the day of the radio, it was all live, and they didn't have digital manipulation of the sound. It was just going on at the same time the actor was acting. So Jack Foley was quite famous because he had a Foley stage, as they call it. They called it eventually, full of stuff like shoes, boots, doors and doorknobs and doorbells and hammers and guns and all sorts of stuff. And he would add the sounds. He would have to watch for the cues. He had the script open. He had his notes, and they say, "Oh my gosh!" And bang, he'd fire a gun, and then he'd throw something on the ground that sounded like a body hitting the ground. That was the old radio days, back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they are still dear to my heart. Some of them are absolutely amazing. Maybe you've heard of The Shadow. Made into a movie that didn't work out really well, but it was a great radio show. It ran for so long, I can't remember, like 10 years or something like that, 10 or 12 years. It was great. The main guy who was reading it was a guy by the name of Orson Welles. You've probably heard that name, but I'm going to cover some stuff here just in case some younger people are watching this, they don't know. Because Orson Welles was an incredibly talented and famous guy who, after doing a couple of amazing things, just stopped and disappeared out of the limelight and became this giant 400-pound guy on Hollywood squares, and it was so sad. But he is credited with having made what pretty much everyone refers to as the greatest American film ever made, and that is Citizen Kane. And not only did he write and direct it, he starred in it, and it is absolutely brilliant, and you should watch it, and you'll find out what Rosebud means. So you should check that out. But in the meantime, I'm wondering if some of you, send me a message, would like for me to play things. I was thinking of starting with The Shadow. Playing some of the old radio shows. And they're all in public domain now. So, well, actually, no, that's not quite true. What's true is the fact that in those days, no one could copyright their material. They didn't have those laws written yet. So they are available to us, and I can play them. So I could play that, or the Green Hornet, or some other really cool stuff. But I wanted to mention also that you probably heard of that movie. I think it had Tom Cruise in it. It was called War of the Worlds. The aliens came and they took the place over, and then they found out some really tricky way to defeat them. Well, that was originally done as a radio show, but they didn't tell the world it was a show. Orson Welles got on the radio, and back then you didn't have TV. You had to go by the radio. And he started telling people that the planet had been invaded by aliens. And he described them under these horrible creatures, and he's describing the death, and he's naming city buildings that were getting knocked down and stuff like that. It immobilized the country of the United States and beyond. And it was a freaky thing that people talked about for a long, long time. So if you want, and you're interested in that, let me know, and I will play. I'll start with Orson Welles doing that, okay? Because I think it's pretty cool. Anything else on there? Yeah, well, don't forget to support Attitudes in Reverse, AIR, because they actually save people, suicidal people. They do. And, if you want to shop, I have a couple of small sources of income. Otherwise, I'm pretty much a retired guy. But if you go to my shop, YVR Pulse Shop, I've got about 3,000 items on there now. Some supernatural stuff, but lots of other stuff. Huge selection of gaming gear, audio and lighting gear to make your own home studio. Lots of t-shirts and hoodies, bathing suits, exercise clothes, yoga equipment, fitness equipment. I think that's about it. Coolio.